We'll figure it out as usual since the knucklehead leader.
I'll just hit the live button. Shut your face mouth.
Oh, hey everybody!
Hey, what's going on?
What's that?
As y'all see, we are missing Chadwick again. He's saying something about he was on the toilet and is having a hard time getting off to get in here. So he'll be here when he can.
He got mad because we keep demonetizing him.
Yeah. Oh, that might be.
He said, "I'm not going to be a part of this."
He's like the company he works for, running late. What up?
What's up, Miss Nina?
That's a lot of.
That's not Nina. Your lunchbox.
There.
Say you don't know who she is without saying you don't know who she is.
Exactly. There's Nina.
What's up, sis?
I was wondering when you were going to figure that out, Kevin.
What? Sitting here messaging these guys, not realizing they. Yeah.
But we're here. We're gonna have a good show tonight. I believe we got our brand new co-host, Mr. Cajun himself, up in here again tonight. He didn't know he was going to be a weekly person, but it seems like he is now.
Yeah,
we're just going to give you the full screen by the end of the show.
I hope not, bro. That's rough. I didn't powder my forehead for the full screen.
Well, hey, this is catfishing. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
How y'all doing?
We doing good. How was your week?
It was all right. Ate a few fish, caught a few fish. Same old
thing. Hit the repeat button on Monday.
Repeat.
Wash, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, that's right. Well, let's welcome everybody in the show. Who we got, Freddie?
Yeah, Freddie, who in the chat?
Hold up. We didn't do it last week on purpose. I wasn't gonna do it this week. We're starting a new show, new year.
No. We gotta say hello to the people.
All right, fine. First off, according to the thing, is Miss Pontoon Jody, Northview Outdoors, member LG Bass, Hooks and Hammocks. Phil's the Waters in here, but he ain't on screen, so we'll just leave that at that. Member Real and Virtual Outdoors, Troy. Not saying that name. Dixon, what's up? Bugman 22, Wabash Nate, Jason Lamb, Cool Cats Fishing James, Burrito Catfish Lady, Telly from Hooks and Hammocks. Hey, Telly. Let's see. Rolling on down. Jersey, John Boy's Catfishing, member Palmetto Cats, Randy Old Gray Hair Swing, member Dustin from Team Snag and Whiskers.
They have pillows. Chris
and B Catch Fish with Us.
Okay.
Muskrat Adventures, Small Water Charters, Venmo Fishing Outdoors. They were live a little bit earlier, having a good old time out there on the water. It was a little windy, but they had a blast. So
that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Eric B, my Carolina native, like 30 minutes up the road, who I still ain't met in person yet, but we will soon, hopefully. Quiet Man Curtis is in here.
What's going on, Curtis?
Northern View Outdoors. Mac is in the house. Dang, this thing is rolling tonight.
Got a bunch of them in there tonight. It's because Bill's here.
Could be. Catfishing crappie. What's going on, Mark? Going as fast as I can. I didn't bring my glasses. I didn't think I was going to have to read this much.
Hurry up, Freddie. You've done this before.
Yeah, I know, but usually I'm wearing my glasses. But I think I'm at the bottom. We got 50 amazing people in here. I'm sure we'll have more bounce in and out. So, welcome everybody that I missed.
Randy,
sorry.
Old Gray Head Swain.
I said him. You ain't got to say him twice. Definitely not twice.
John Boyce. My friend, Burrito, Catfishing Lady.
So, Brian, what you got going on this week?
I ain't got nothing going on. We'll go work tomorrow, and then I'm going to party for my birthday on Saturday.
Ooh.
Sunday, we supposed to get that rain and all that craziness, so that's perfect timing. Party hard Saturday, sleep good Sunday.
I hear you. Appreciate that Palmetto member for 31 months saying, just kidding, y'all, my favorite. We appreciate the love and support.
Absolutely.
Well, and Chris, you ain't doing nothing this weekend as usual, so I don't even need to
Not
ask you.
nothing. This weekend is a chill out with my feet up and try to sleep through the weekend.
Hold up, we got work to get done in the next 2 weeks. We got a show coming up.
He told me he was gonna come to my party, but he ain't say nothing. So I guess he changed his mind.
Well, he got shirts and hats to make for this show we got in 2 weeks, so he ain't got time.
I love you to death, but I have a hard time crossing that Mason-Dixon line. There's something about that. As soon as you cross through there, it just doesn't feel right. So we love you. Happy birthday to you.
No
We'll
worries.
blow you a kiss or something, and that's about all you're gonna get.
I'll get that with my private chat later with my friend.
And Mr. Bill, what you got going on this upcoming weekend?
Oh, going fishing.
That's what I'm talking
I'm
about.
going to start testing the water, getting ready for some sharks to come in. It's getting warm. We've been in the 80s now for a while, so I'm trying to be on the lookout for them. Got to go catch some skipjack, catch a bunch of other bait, and just keep catching fish.
That's true. You're actually the only person on this page that now actually does fish on a regular basis. So
Right.
if any questions fishing related, they're gonna have to get directed to Bill. That's it. That's it.
Well,
you?
I'd be able to fish more if somebody wouldn't keep me so busy.
Yeah. Well, we got them working. It's spread the love. Spread the love. Yeah, you've been staying pretty busy too. So you're gonna get out there and be on them. So the catfish,
alligator, bull sharks. That's my 3 species that I go after from spring through the end of summer.
Wait a second. Hold on. Doesn't your show come on tonight?
Yeah.
What time does it come on? Are we on while it's on?
No, I think it comes on 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. No, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central.
All right, so we'll be good. What channel is it on?
History.
The History Channel. All right. So y'all make sure you tune into the History Channel tonight after the show at 9:30.
Yeah, I think the name of the episode is Vanishing Gators on Swamp Mysteries.
Very cool. Very cool. Well,
said at 9:30?
Yeah, I think so. Y'all let me know how it is because I'm not even going to watch it.
Well,
Chris
you were there. You don't need to watch it, I guess.
Yeah.
Your order's already been shipped, Chris. It should be delivered tomorrow. Leave me alone.
Dang. Some kind of customer service.
Well, that ain't a regular customer. That's one of my pro staff. So I can talk all I want then.
That's one of his super fans. That's one of his super fans. Yeah.
It's nice to be nice, Freddie. It's nice to be nice.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll be nice. It's on the way, Chris. It should be there tomorrow, buddy.
Did you go? Did you do any fishing off the dock this week, though?
I went today, but it was with this full moon. It's just a slack tide. Probably about an hour and a half. I stayed out there, and it just stayed slack the whole time. So I went home. I wasn't gonna fight that. Normally, the tide when it's a full moon like this, the tide it's nighttime fishing anyway. But that's usually whenever the tide will be moving the most. So if that in that bite, because I'm at is coastal, so it's always moving water. If there ain't no tide moving, you might well pack it up, go to the house. And the problem is right now with the condition, that tide can stay slack for 3, 4, 5 hours at a time. Mm-hmm. So it don't pay to try to stick around and wait it out.
Down that far, close to the Gulf, what's the water level? What's the rise and fall of the tide? How many feet? Like here, we're only talking like 2.5, 3 foot at the most. We don't really closer on the bay. You may see it, go up and down. If you're on the bay, in the bayou, like by the camp and everything, you don't really notice a fall in feet. You just notice the water shifting one way or the other. Sometimes if it's a hard thing, you might notice it fall 2, 3 feet, 4 feet during like a full moon phase. So if you're not from around there and you start floating one way and the tide switches, you're in trouble.
Especially in the bay. If you go out into the bay or the marshes, I've known several people go out there fishing and they'll have 3, 4, 5 foot of water in these little canals chasing redfish or trout, and then within an hour or if less, they sitting on the sandbar. So it happens quick.
Yeah. Well,
I heard that trout fishing is pretty fun too, ain't it?
What's that?
I heard that speckled trout fishing is pretty fun. Is it?
It's okay. It's fast paced if you can get on them. You know what I mean? It's some pretty fast paced fishing. I don't particularly try to catch them too often because I don't really like to eat them. But it's good. It's fun. Like I said, you can get into a mess of them whenever they come in big schools. Catch 300-400 fish, you know, in relatively short amount of time.
Yeah, I got one of the bait shops down on the coast. They do tournaments, and they actually reached out to me to make them another cutout trophy of a speckled trout. So that's why I was asking. I ain't never fished for them, but I heard they were fun if you get on them.
Yeah,
they're a lot of fun. We fished for them in the Sound in North Carolina, in the Outer Banks, just with a little jig head with a swim bait, and you got to be shallow water, 2 foot. Don't get no much more deeper than that, and you swim them through the grass, and it's a lot of fun. You catch some nice ones.
Yeah,
Freddie yeah.
You really had to highlight that one, huh? Did you not just see my wife kiss me on her way out? I ain't chasing nothing.
Todd wants to know if he can kiss you. He's got me confused with you, Freddie.
Oh, no.
There's something wrong with that fellow right there. He must be overly medicated. It's kind of nice not having chat on here for real. We can actually have a decent conversation.
I'm trying to get the History Channel. I don't have it on YouTube TV.
Oh, that's what you're looking for?
Uncle Lou.
Yep. So what you've been down there fishing, getting ready for eating all those big catfish, enjoying that, trying to keep up with your conservation.
And I don't know how many people are up in here because I had a post that kind of stirred the pot this last week. And
how many views did it get first?
First, I had 2 posts. I'm not talking about the Catfisherman Tears post. This one was the Sockeye, aka crappie for some of y'all. That was hollering, "We can't wait for wildlife and fisheries or Green Jeans to catch you." I posted a video today. Green Jeans rolled up on me. And guess what? I didn't go to jail and I didn't get a ticket. Everything I'm doing is above board.
You were check safe.
Yeah. So I was trying to give me some bait though to go catch some more big catfish to make me some tacos.
Nice.
It just saves a lot of time, man.
That one post did stir a lot of panties up and get a lot of people uproared. But that's kind of what we wanted to talk about tonight is the conservation side. And I understand where these guys are coming from as far as wanting to keep the trophy fish, but I also understand that you bought a license. Anybody buys a license, what you legally can keep is what you legally can catch and keep. So there shouldn't be no fussing about that.
Not whatsoever.
A lot of times the conservation tends to go directly to commercial fishermen, taking them to these trophy-sized pay lakes, and that's where the big confusion with the conservation effort takes place, I think, because there's been no study to my knowledge, and I looked and looked and looked for the past couple of days just to make sure I'm not talking out my butt, that has been done on larger, older-sized catfish to know whether those eggs are actually viable after a certain point.
That's a good point.
Just like chickens and most beings on this earth at a certain age, they may keep having eggs and laying and stuff like that, but their eggs aren't viable after a certain point. Wow. So that's a study that actually needs to be done out there because I couldn't find one.
And humans as well. That applies to humans too. At a certain age,
everything.
Cap off.
What size fish do you think is where the cutoff point is. Like, what do you think is the prime age size female that's laying eggs? Like when she's in her prime.
Well,
and where do you think it falls off? Just
I can only speak for here because every body of water that is going to be different. Food that's available to them, the temperature, all of that is effective. I'll say this from where I'm at in South Louisiana, which conditions are pretty optimal for fish in general. All right, water temp year round stays pretty good. Now, I'll put this out there as a disclaimer. I have family that's commercial fish. I have family that's still commercial fish. Not commercial fish to sell to pay lakes. We don't have them here. I worked in the commercial fish market most of my teen years. Recreational fishing my whole life. I've kept and I've seen and cleaned thousands and thousands of big fish that most people would consider trophies. In all my years of doing this, and all the thousands of which I probably clean more fish than the average person as far as in this space, I have never cleaned a blue cat, flathead. I'm gonna stick with them because them are the two big ones. Channel cat don't really get that big. I've never cleaned one over the 30-pound range that had eggs in it. I've never cleaned one over 30 pounds that had eggs. I've never cleaned a 30-pounder with eggs. So what age that fish is, I'm not sure. We know the average range is 12 to 14 years, maybe. Some in specific areas may go older. So, which is another thing, contrary to popular belief. You know, a lot of people, that fish was 70 years old. There's nothing that really shows them fish come close to living that long on average. So, I don't know how old them fish are. Over 30 pounds, I've never found eggs in a female. I could say that. And I've caught a ton of fish that had eggs in it. So, because on that post I made, I don't know why I couldn't get this guy to understand that. His argument was, well, because you've never caught it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And that is true. But considering the amount of catfish I did catch with eggs, the chances and the amount of catfish I've cleaned over this weight and big fish, the odds of me in this time of never catching at least one, and that'd have to be remarkable. You know what I mean? To never find them. Because I've caught a ton of catfish, man. If you squeeze them, eggs fly out of them. We've all done it. And I've never had it happen. So I know that's not scientific and that's not in a study, but it's hard for them to study what they don't know.
Yeah. And with that, the study is going to be different on each body of water, you know, in each area,
Right.
at least, you know, because down here in the Carolinas where I'm at, I've had buddies trot line and catch 30s and 40s, and yeah, a couple of them had eggs in it, but the eggs were a different shade. It wasn't that typical yellowish orange. They were more white. So that, to me, that means those eggs weren't viable to me.
Right.
So, you know, and that, like you said, that 12 to 14 is the average life cycle of a blue cat from what the majority of the studies have been done on that. Now, yeah, we've heard 25, 35, 45 plus years, but that's probably one of those anomalies, just like humans. You know, we average 65, 70 years old on average with, you know, a certain portion of the population going above that. So I think it comes down to size and age, you know, in compilation together, but it also depends on the body of water. So as far as the conservation part of it, to me, until they actually get out there and actually do the real studies and find all that information that they haven't gotten like that out, you can't really do a true conservation effort unless you know those facts. Because, you know, if we're saying we want to keep every fish over 30 pounds, well, if the eggs ain't viable after 30 pounds, I mean, put them back in the water. If those eggs aren't viable, then what fish do we need to target to put back in the water to keep the conservation part?
Then it actually might even help the population if they're not producing. But one of the things that, you know, someone said in here that there's no reason to keep a huge or trophy fish. Now, this is something that I want to put across because I have to kind of maintain, a certain opinion, but something I want to always make a point of, every part of the country that you're in, people operate and believe differently.
Mm-hmm.
For example, we got invited to a noodling tournament down in Oklahoma. There's going to be, I had no idea what this was, but they apparently, people voted. We got invited to go. There's going to be 12,000 people going to a noodling tournament. Now here, we wouldn't even know what that was. Bill, I don't think you guys would even know what, do noodling down there.
Oh no, they do it down here.
Okay.
But a very select few.
Every part of the country has their own views and their own opinion on how things are going, to be done. And I don't think anyone has the right to say that you should not do X, Y, Z. Just because I feel like that is when you start pointing the finger and setting this a line in the sand, it's not necessarily fair. And that every angler has the right to keep whatever's legal,
but
whatever they want to.
But when you're noodling, are you keeping the fish? Or are you putting the fish back in?
They're putting
Some
the fish
people put them back in.
They're apparently, so we checked that. It's all, they have to be released alive.
But that's a lot of damage to the fish. You stick your arm all the way down there to grab it out.
I have no, but in every part of the country, they got their own way of doing things.
Oh yeah.
As long as, but as far as conservation and what you're doing, Bill, and other people that keep fish, that's not hurting anything. The regular, the average fisherman is not hurting everything. The problems are coming from the people that are doing this, on a commercial level,
right,
at high volumes. But at the same point, the states are still, there's still regulations with them as well. And the states make regulations and set regulations to control, the healthy growth and population.
We have no regulation.
Well, Maryland is a whole different creature.
See, remember that list I showed you, I screenshot and sent y'all?
Mm-hmm.
If it's, let me see if I can dim it down just to show you the list of dates and times that charter boats now are trying to come to the Potomac and fish for catfish. I've never seen charters do catfish. And this is from March 11th to the 30th. And that's 2 boats.
Mm-hmm.
A morning boat, evening boat.
Every week we get solicited by a tournament to sponsor the tournament, and Maryland is one state that every single time that we don't sponsor anything in Maryland, because every single tournament that we talk to, they allow the anglers to catch and kill.
They want to keep everything.
And if you're a tournament director and you're an advocate for the industry and you're a voice for a community, I don't understand how you could be a tournament angler and then still allow catch and kill. So we won't have anything to do with that. But if a recreational guy wants to, however they want to operate, as long as it's within their means, and that's prerogative.
Like I was telling you the other day, you get jokers that now they say, "Hey, these are invasive species. This, that, and the other. Catch them. This, that, and the other. Catch them, kill them. Catch them, kill them." I seen one last year. He took a picture of at least, I'm gonna say 18 to 25 fish, and all he did was catch the catfish, gut them, and throw them back in the water.
But you know what, Brian, and this is, I think about this sometimes. I think that when a state that promotes the catch and kill, I think what that does to some people, like what you're talking about, I think that just gives them a reason and they're just doing it because they just somebody said they can.
They just basically what they're doing is giving energy to a psychopath that can go out there and do that when he can't do that.
Yeah, like, oh, I can go do this now.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Oh God, there he is. But I think one of the big problems is the states, they're calling them invasive, not a non-native. They're non-native,
Right.
but if you actually look at
you put them in the water,
they're non-native to a lot of us on the East Coast, but they're not invasive. Yes, they're fighting with other species for the same food and whatnot, but they're not invasive. They're not killing off everything in the waters. That's what an invasive species does.
What?
Like your Asian carp are doing in some areas, they're invasive because they're overpopulating and killing off a lot of the other fish.
Catfish will do that though.
Yeah, but they say for like say my instance on this side of the Chesapeake Bay and the Potomac, they're saying the catfish are coming into the bay. They're killing off the crabs. They're not killing off the crabs. They're eating the crabs. Yeah, they're not killing off the crabs. It's no regulation on crabbing. So if Johnny want to go out there at 6 in the morning and stay to 6 at night and get 20 bushel,
yeah, but
the next gentleman come behind or somewhere else.
I'm almost certain they got regulations on crabs.
No, it's no regulation on it.
I'm gonna have to look up a Maryland book, and I find that considering Louisiana provides Maryland with majority of their crabs because their season closes down, I'm gonna disagree that they don't have regulations.
I don't think they do.
I'm almost 1,000%.
I'm sure there's if you're a commercial angler, a commercial fisherman, you are regulated to only be able to
commercial process. But then you got other people crabbing.
Yeah, but even recreational.
No, as a recreational angler, you're only allowed to have so many pots.
Yeah, they're not gonna. I've seen people to where I went to a spot before and we got out there like 5 in the morning when we first started fishing. And we thought this place was a hit and sound good. We went out there. It was maybe 4 or 5 of us on a dock that was probably like a quarter of a mile long. It was 4 fishermen. Everybody else was on the side of there with a basket with chicken legs and they was crabbing. They would take them, go put them in their car.
Yeah, but that's not
that
little bit.
Down, and they just getting them.
That little bit. I'm sure there still is so many you're allowed to have in possession per day, but that little bit's not going to hurt.
But the thing is, they're not enforcing it.
But where we live down at our house, we're allowed. I think it's 4 pots for a personal. We don't need a license or anything. We're allowed to have 4 pots, and that's what we. I only use 1.
We don't have like when I. Other than when you came that time and they came and pulled up on you. You had been to the Potomac how many other times? 4 or 5 other times.
Yeah.
And fished multiple areas. DNR is not out there.
I got stopped. I got stopped 2 times in the same day.
That's because they were just putting people over here in that area.
Twice in
the same. I said my buddy that is DNR
both times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm kidding. But yeah, it's different parts of the country, everything's different. At the end of the day, the state has come up with some kind of rule book each year that says it's just like the deer hunting. You can, do this, that, and the other. And when the numbers are high, the hunter get more opportunity, and when they're low, they lower it. And they do the same thing with the fisheries. What's up, Todd?
All right, Chadwick. Now that you finally here a half hour late, what you got to say?
My computer is still restarting. It said approximately 3 minutes. It has now been almost an hour since it has started restarting.
Well,
How can I got some arms?
Look, my daughter just gave me a present.
No.
This
One
ain't giving
bushel
you her
per
her.
person.
My autumn.
They
Yeah.
go away.
So it looks like you're, yeah, there's a size limit. It doesn't matter
There's a
where you
size
go.
limit.
There is a size
no-
limit. And you
Yeah.
at certain times it could be male or female.
And 1 bushel per person.
Now I would say, yeah, 1 bushel per person. I don't know how that works.
1 bushel.
Because
That's
you would
a
have
lot.
to have
That's
you
like
would have to have
like 200
multiple suppliers for 1 bushel.
Yeah.
I might order a bushel of crab for an event.
A bushel ain't a whole lot.
No, it's not. So
Be
1
like
bushel
70
per vessel is
70
not
pounds,
no.
I think.
The
200.
angler will wait. They would lose money if they did that.
But those guys are, but they're talking recreational, not
Oh, recreational, yeah.
yeah, that's not
But hey,
commercial.
if I
No,
catch a
commercial,
bushel,
you're
I'm
allowed
good.
so many tons. I think it goes by tons or tonnage, I believe, but it's still regulated by size. And if
Yeah.
and you're at a certain time, I don't think you're allowed to have females. And
Correct. That's why I say I knew it wasn't unregulated.
It's 5 inches.
But like here's the funny thing when we talk about different. If you want to use Maryland for example, you can only catch 1 rockfish per person per day, and it can only be like 18 to around 18 inches. I forget what the legal limit is. Yeah, so Todd, his father-in-law is a commercial fisherman.
They just trying to it's something about the catfishing that they just trying to make it seem like, oh, they're eating the crabs. You get to
I really thought Brian B would be more of an expert on crabs.
Why? He don't fish.
When you go to the bay though, it's more salt water. You get more channel cats than you get blue cats in
That's very true.
the bay.
If you go into the bay,
Rarely catch a channel cat on the Potomac. It's once I might catch 5 channel cats in a whole year. Blue cats are big, and how many blue cats have been caught in the Chesapeake Bay? I don't know.
yeah.
They ain't said the numbers, but
I've
they're coming on the Potomac.
I've caught a
and
few down
showing-
there flounder fishing over the years, but
They go to the Potomac and then shock the water and show what they have as far as fishing and blue cats. But they're not in the bay when they shock it. They on the Potomac. So they on 2 different rivers and try to make it seem like.
let me ask this question. So, they got different states calling a catfish invasive and whatnot. We're all guilty. I'm guilty. Would it be as much of a problem if it wasn't for or would the light not been shined on them as much if it wasn't for the for social media and everybody posting all their big catches? You think that's turned
That it exposes. So.
It exposed it more, but I think the biggest thing was when the community started posting about the pay lakes, the trophy pay lakes, and the commercial fishermen hoop netting and catching all these large fish and selling them to these trophy pay lakes, because you can read it up, you can look it up yourself. Every one of the trophy pay lakes, they don't feed the fish in those trophy lakes for a reason, to make them bite so they can get paid. After so many days, they die and they float up and they throw them in a trash can or in a dump or in a ditch. I think that's the biggest issue that most people have. It's not so much as, I can only catch 2 over 32 inches in South Carolina and keep them every day. So that's within my rights. I don't think people have an issue with that,
Dixon?
for the most part. Now, some people do, because they don't think you should keep anything over, 5-10 pounds, because they think the meat tastes bad. Well, I can tell you, a 32 incher tastes just like a 14 incher if you cook it up right. It tastes actually better, in my opinion. It's got a sweeter flavor to it. But it depends on and
Which,
I don't even know how to keep saying it, but it's not regular pay lakes. The pay lakes that are buying the fish from stock ponds, bringing them over and actually feeding them and letting people come enjoy fishing for them, we don't have a problem with it for the most part. Majority of the time, I think it's strictly just the trophy pay lakes and the commercial fishermen that take and sell their fish to the trophy pay lakes because of what's known to be done to them.
No, and I think that,
So it's an animal right, like cruelty to animal thing.
That's where
Yeah.
kind of boils down to.
It's borderline.
Now Chad's right there on the Kentucky, on the Ohio River, where they have seen a decline in larger fish because of the commercial fishermen coming in and out of there so much. And the legal ones, I don't think they have a problem with the legal portion of the commercial fishermen. It's all the ones that are doing all the extra, putting out more nets than they're supposed to, taking triple and quadruple their daily limit out, and then turning around and selling them to these trophy pay lakes is the issue. Right,
I would have to agree with Eric B. I mean, I don't promote pay lakes, but
some of them are farm raised.
Right.
If they're farm raised, they're not going to the river and taking fish and just keep replenishing them.
I asked this question about animal cruelty for a reason. And it seemed like some of y'all was like, yeah, that's part of it. So do we only care about animal cruelty if it's a fish that you like to catch?
Me personally, yeah.
Because if people are going to pretend us to care about it being animal cruelty, catching the same fish over and over until it dies, we know people before tournaments or just anglers who go fish on the weekend who set gill nets to catch shad. They catch a bunch of small catfish and they pop fins on them and throw them back. Them catfish ain't going to make it. We know they go out there and catch other bait species. They get their heads lobbed off, all in the name of catching a fish to take a picture with. We know at the end of those days and at the end of these tournaments, there's a cooler full of bait fish that no one used, that all died for nothing, that gets dumped into the water. So when we start talking about animal cruelty, is it only because it's a fish you care about? Because you are guilty of it yourself.
Yeah, very true. It's a two-sided sword.
Well, I think you're exactly right, because a lot of people get caught up in the, we're going after this trophy fish, and everything else in the middle doesn't really, pertain. But yeah, I mean, I fish tidal waters. We put out gill nets, and many, many times have we caught more shad than we needed, or had small catfish hung in our net, and we didn't take them home. And I never, until you and I talked about that, I never considered that I could have took those home and we could have, ate them or whatever. Never even considered that. So after that conversation, that kind of changed my thought process on it. We're pretty careful when we drop the gill net. If you've done it enough, you can know when your net's loaded and when you need to get it in. And sometimes you start feeling it, you need to get it in right now and not play around. Other times, you take your time. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of bait and a lot of things that get put overboard. And
yeah, I mean,
that bait that's going over that I'm throwing back typically would be getting eaten by other fish, though.
Oh yeah,
it would, but it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for
When you're feeding the fish, you're not killing it and throwing it in the trash.
I get what you're saying, but it's not the difference. We're talking about the pay lake stuff, though, is those fish are being pulled from their waters to be put in a little puddle. That's the people around here why we have an issue with that portion of it, right? They're getting put into these small ponds, and they're putting chemicals into the water that are burning these fish's gills to liven them up and make them more active. And then they're just being caught with, they've got sores and everything else all over their mouth until they're not making no money anymore because they die or they're half dead. And then like I said, they're throwing them in dumpsters or over the hill. That's what the conservation, like talking about the people that get upset around here about this part of the conversation, right? What I don't like, and I was one of them people CPR, got to catch, photo, release. We need to hate pay lakes, blah blah blah, right? But Bill, you probably saw my comment, and I think you replied to it. Is what I don't like is how we do go about trying to speak about conservation, whether it be CPR, selective harvest, and this and that. The way of the internet, you all brought up the change that social media has brought to everything, and we go into attack mode on everybody instead of having a discussion, right? Or the education or the understanding that, hey, Bill bought his license. Bill catches his fish in a legal manner, and it's his right to do with as he pleases with those fish, right? That's the part that I think we lack in this whole industry is that way of just having a civil conversation. Agree or disagree is fine, but we'd rather do the social media blast to say that, Freddie sucks because he kept a big fish, even though he was in his right means. That's my issue with this whole thing.
Yeah, and I agree, and I'm gonna piggyback off of something that somebody else said, and it is funny. Guys who fish paylates eat their Snickers upside down because they like that veiny texture against their tongue.
All right.
I mean, go fish for real. You got a fish trap in one area of water, and they're getting taken and put in from other waters.
Yeah,
You're raping the Ohio River. Now they starting to rape the Potomac. They're going to every river and where they know that there's good catfish, and they're going to. I seen a video somebody sent me a couple months ago, and I'm looking at. He said these fish are coming from the Potomac.
Let's talk about that, Brian. You should know this better than anyone. Let's talk about where you are. What in recent years put those areas on the map? You and I
all the content creators.
Bingo.
All the content creators did it.
All the millions. We were putting out millions and millions of views a month. 20, 30 million views a month.
Going live. Showing where you at.
How many times did we get all those spots burned just from going live?
Yeah.
Burned.
I got spots now that I got one spot that we talk about that we know of that you go there too, and then I seen somebody put a video up that they were fishing a tournament and they were sitting right over there in their spot. I said, you done fished all these areas and I know where you are because I know the river on that side. And all of a sudden, now you're over here by that spot. I said,
social media had people watching, looking at the background, going on to Google Earth and finding where everybody was fishing. But that highlighted those areas, which not just anglers were looking at it. If I was in the commercial fishing business and I knew there was that many fish there, guess where I was going? I mean, so that created a lot of issues. I'm sure where you are, Bill, some of the content and stuff that you're putting out, people are now. Well, I know for a fact where you live, that's becoming a catfishing destination. I hear people talk about it all the time.
Yeah, and I don't like it.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard somebody talk about fishing down by the grain elevators.
I'm gonna tell you why I don't like it. It's because of tournaments. Because this is usually what happens. Our biologists usually study waters and they make regulations. Sure, sometimes they're a year or two slow or early when it comes to changing things, but they typically do a good job. These tournaments come in, they'll pick a body of water, they look for a boat ramp. These tournaments these days, especially for catfish, we've watched it with bass, sac-a-lait, we watched it. So catfish is almost following in their footsteps. We've watched them go into an area with big money and be like, hey, we'll do an upgrade to this boat ramp, or we'll build a boat ramp if it don't have one. And that sounds good to a small town. We can guarantee you when we host a tournament from some of these big things, we'll help increase your lodging, the food, the restaurants will see money, fuel, all of these things, right? But then a year or so after that happens, especially if they have success, you start to see money get involved with the local politicians. Now, that local lake that's been good and thriving for no telling how many years, generations. Now it's no limb lines. Now it's no cross lines. Now it's here's a limit on this. And for what? That doesn't necessarily mean conservation. I look at it as greed because these tournament guys want to catch a big fish. They got really nothing to do with conservation in my, because conservation to me looks at species as a whole. I don't look at conservation as 100-pound fish. They're supposed to be anomalies. They're not supposed to, they're fish of a lifetime for a reason. We should not be happy if we can all go and catch these fish of a lifetime once, twice, 3 times a year. It shouldn't happen. Sounds good. That's to me, when you try to regulate your way to trophy fish, it's the same as participation trophies. And I could almost bet most of us don't like them. We're just going to make sure that there's enough 70 to 100-pound class fish in this lake where everybody gets a chance to catch one. That's not how it was never intended to be in Mother Nature. Them big fish get called out. Now, you want to start talking about a slot size where perfect breeding size fish normally are. And there's been a ton of studies done on this with other species where technically, if you want to keep producing big fish over time and have them, you got to pull big fish out. There's a certain percentage of them that have to come out because I'm telling you, they don't breed till the day that they die of old age. Does not happen. But they stay there and they compete. They run other males off the nest. They fight for the females, even though that they're not going to be able to fertilize them eggs. And we know if they run a male off the nest, y'all pulled big fish off the nest before or coming right out of spawn with big old scars on their head and all beat up. I got studied that I could post in here. I can send them to whoever wants to post this video when it's all done, and you can put it in the description. Where the studies are done that once a male fish comes off his nest within a day, every one of those eggs are dead from fungus and algae that grow on them because they're not there to constantly fan them and keep them clean. So when these big males go there and they're running these males off of these nests and taking them, the eggs are dead. They're no good within a day. So I just hate, and it's usually from tournament. I know that they say that their beef is with pay lakes, but if you're on social media enough and you're in these pages where they'll ban you or delete your post if you post a picture of a cooler with fish in it because they know you took fish home. Your post is going to come down and you're going to get kicked out that group. So while I hear it's mostly pay lake problems, I watch them do this with everyone. And I feel it really is cloaked in conservation, but it's really just about greed. Because how many of these guys know of or had it happen to them where they fish that they bring the weigh in don't live? How many of these tournament fish die?
Right.
It does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen.
I get it. It's not their. It might not be their intent, but it happens.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
I would say in the 20-some years that I fish tournaments, and I see Todd Globwell's in here, we all fish together.
20 years.
Yeah, for many, many years. I would say
that your fishing sucks if you've been fishing for 20 years.
I would say that probably every tournament I've ever been to, it would have at least, I would say maybe not, high 90, at least one fish die. And it varies size. Now, as we get closer to the warmer months, those numbers go up a lot.
Oh yeah,
a lot. So
the heat gonna do it to them.
Yeah. Well, the fish aren't taken care of.
Yeah.
They're not taken care of because, and I'll agree with you on this, Bill, because money, and a trophy often are the overwhelming factor to fish health.
Yeah. I caught I think it was a 15-pounder when I first started. I threw it in the cooler, put it on ice. I said, I'm gonna fillet it when I get home, but man, we stayed out there later than normal. Still in the cooler. Dude, I came out the next day and that joker was still breathing.
Yeah. We've done that with catfish that we caught in the gill net, and we said, well, we're going to get them out the next day, and you know, because they're real hard. If anybody ever caught a catfish in a gill net, the small ones, it's brutal. And those jokers, as long as they're wet, moisture on them, they're still alive.
Oh yeah, I was shocked. That's when I first started. I was like, wow, it's almost 16 hours or whatever. I ended up bringing the cooler back down there, and I ended up putting that fish back and letting it go because I said I'm not gonna cut that fish up. I put that fish on the side and let it sit there on the rocks, and that water was in there. That fish ended up going.
Now I'm gonna tell you something. That fish died.
It might have.
Oh,
but see,
he
this
did.
was our first.
He
Because he was shell shocked over that cold water.
Hey Brian, his ghost is haunting you right now. That's why you don't fish no more.
I would agree. But I agree, like especially like you're talking about in the summertime with tournaments and stuff, most people's live wells, they don't even recirculate the water, clean the water out while it's sitting in there. And when they put that fish back, a lot of them, or at least some of them, they may think that they swam off, and within a couple hours or a day, those fish are, they're fish from those tournaments. Yes, that they do die.
Yeah, because they're wore out. For one, they're wore out and weak from being caught and then held in that tank all day. And then 90% of these tournaments, the ramps and weigh-ins are in the shallows. And these fish, in especially warmer months, need to be in
here's the other thing, and that's what always used to piss me off. Or they're in the boat ramp while everybody's coming and going, and they're trying to release fish through the traffic. That's a problem. But I mean, it's every single, so all the years that we were fishing, we would catch a fish in the tournament world. We'd catch a fish, we'd weigh it, 43 pounds. We put it in a live well. Okay, we got 43 pounds. We'd catch another one, 55 pounds. So together, that's what, 97 pounds. We go in there to weigh our fish, 92 pounds. And for a long time, we're going, what the heck, man, these people's scales are off. Well, then as we got more and more over the years, doing this a lot more, we started realizing that these fish are losing a lot of weight. They're losing a heck of a lot of weight, and it's from stress and a lot of other things. And a lot of these guys that go, oh, no, I saw my fish swim off. Hey, look, man, he might have swum off, but you weren't there the next day or the day after that or the day after that. They get put under such stress and such duress. Those big fish their bodies are built in a certain way that they're not meant to be handled like that out of water, even though we all do it. Okay. Everybody that picks a fish up by his throat and holds him, or his jaw and holds him like this, and you watch the belly sag, the stomach lining and all those things have a potential, especially with a big fish, to start coming apart, and he's bleeding on the inside.
If you have a cut of fish, you see they got
all those membranes.
But when you hold it up like that, if it ain't long enough, you don't know because you can't see inside of it. It can pop. Give up.
And here goes the shameless plug. And you could help alleviate those issues by going to FOA Customs and Gear and buying you a weight sling.
I'm waiting for it. I was waiting for it.
Hey, but that's what I was shooting.
Amen.
For.
Yeah, but that's the brutal reality, and you don't realize you're doing it, and you don't think about it, and money and and a trophy and all that stuff is involved. The only objective that's really on your mind is let's catch the fish, get them in the live well, and get them into the weigh-in. But again, we have caught so many at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon before we made it in. Now, one thing that we did over time, we learned and we prided ourselves on, is making sure we had the proper aeration. We got to where we were recirculating our water constantly. We were doing everything that we could to make sure that they were healthy. And you would notice it over time and say, oh, wow, now the fish, when he's coming out alive, well, he is angry and mad.
Mm-hmm.
He just put the hell off. But we weren't doing them any favors.
Yeah. And that's where I want to give a attaboy to Kevin and Chad and Brian and some of these other online tournaments where it's you catch the fish, you weigh it right there on the screen, you let it go live. So you're not keeping that fish out of water, hours at a time. It's a minute or two, showing him off, getting the weight, putting him back in the water. It still stresses the fish because anytime a fish gets caught, they're stressed, but the stress is greatly reduced by these live online tournaments now.
Well,
you're not carrying that fish 4, 6, 8 hours in a live well. They get to go right back in their water close to where they were caught at.
Also, Todd's in here as well. All the years doing this, I can't tell you how many times that we've stood in line waiting to weigh our fish
for hours.
Sometimes it was never for hours with the fish out of the water in a bag, and he's sitting, he's sitting on the ground, and we're moving, and
So when I say hours, I'm talking about pulling it up with them setting in your live well and
I'm not talking about
away and taking 2 hours. I've seen them. Brian?
I'm talking about the fish in the weight bag or the weight sling or the
tote.
Oh,
no, not like that.
Waiting in line to get,
30, 45 minutes. It ain't uncommon these days to be in a line for a weigh-in.
And the amount of people that drop them on their head on the slab in the parking lot.
And we have been, that's another thing that's where that FOA sling will come into a lot of use, is taking him out of the live well, because when he comes out of the live well, he's slippery than eel shit and mad as a devil. And you try to hand him off to your partner down on the ground, and I've seen tons of times and heard the slap hit the ground, pat, and we're all learning, people making mistakes, but there's a lot, we have a lot to work on community wide. We got a lot of problems, a lot of issues all over. There's just, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Like I said, I think the biggest thing that I see is there's not just a dialogue of that people can't just sit here and have a conversation, amongst, human beings. They have to go into attack mode, belittle each other. They do the same thing when they go into the DNR and the conservation officers meetings and stuff like that, instead of having a headstrong conversation where it's good verbiage, it's good conversation, you have some facts, or even a valid opinion. It's more of, I don't agree with you, you're a big fat stupid head, and I'm going to belittle you and call you names and act like a moron half the time. I think there's just a better way to handle it than 95% of the community does most of the time.
That's why I said early on that it's different across the whole country.
Yeah.
And where you are in Kentucky, or where you are in Ohio, or where you are in Virginia or Louisiana or South Carolina, doesn't.
You got all our states right. I'm proud of you.
Always apply to somewhere else.
That's 100% correct. What I'm dealing with right here on my stretch of the Ohio River is way different than Bill is down in Louisiana, right? Or what the Potomac issues that they're having.
I just want to say this, because I know based on my post this past week, there's probably some misconceptions. I'm not anti-CPR. I probably released more trophy in parentheses, because I know it's all relative, than what most people have probably caught in their whole life. But I do choose to keep fish at times. How many people I'm feeding, if it's going in a freeze and I'm not eating it, is irrelevant to anything. I'm not anti-CPR. I am anti people being hypocrites in the name of conservation. And I don't go for, because I know when I see these, and they're usually the loudest. Like I say, I've been on these posts in these catfish pages, and like I said, they ban people for a cooler with catfish in it. And they don't even have to be trophy fish. They don't want to see you keeping fish at all. And I even had one guy on this post who said, "Stop pretending, or it's a shame that you're so poor that you have to keep fish to feed your family." But I done some research and looked at this guy's page, and I see him at restaurants buying fish. So when you tell me you have an issue with people keeping fish to eat or feed their family, but then you go to a restaurant to buy said fish, you're a hypocrite. That's all it is. Because where do you think them fish come from? Be it a pond, be it wild caught, wherever, you're a hypocrite. And so that's what I'm anti. I'm anti people acting like that. And that's why I made that post. I knew how it was going to come across to a lot of people. I knew that ahead of time. I mean, I made that image for that specific reason because I do feel like that's how a lot of them has become. But for the record, I'm not anti-CPR. I do believe that there has to be people that put them all back, and there has to be people that keep them. Otherwise, you're gonna have some messed up fisheries. Now, the problem is they need to get along with each other and stop. One is not the enemy. You need both of them for a fishery to be healthy.
Yeah.
And I think the sooner people realize that, the better off everyone will be, because conservation looks different for everybody.
Well, I'm part of another show as well, and we've done talks about this, right? So I have about 100-acre lake just down the street from me, right? So if they took that lake, do what?
That's a pond. It's 100 acres. That's only a pond.
It's a 100-acre lake, but if they said, "Hey, restriction is you cannot keep any fish from this lake," now what will end up happening is most of those species are going to end up being stunted, right? Your largemouth bass, your bluegills, etc., are going to start eventually, if nothing's being pulled out, just like you were saying, Bill. If there's fish not being pulled out of these lakes and rivers at times, eventually they're going to get to a population where the size starts being stunted. You have fish with small bodies and big heads, kind of like Chris. But there is a portion of balance, if you will, that has to be done with that stuff. And when it comes to keeping stuff, again, if you're keeping something to eat and you're in your illegal means, by all means, I don't have the right to sit and bash you about it. Now, if you're in my river and I wanted to have a conversation with you that I would take 3 10-pounders over a 30 or 40, I will, if you want to talk about it, I'll talk about it. But it's, I'm not going to degrade you and say you're the world's biggest POS, right? Because you decided to keep something that you legally caught. That's what I keep saying. We need to change the direction of our conversations with each other instead of the constant bashing, like you're saying, Bill, over that post, right? You're not against it. You do it at times. It depends on what you want to do. And if you're in your legal means, what does it matter, right?
And just for reference, so to what Chad's talking about, everybody in here, I'm sure, has been to the Bass Pro Shop. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about a body of water with too many fish in it, stunting the growth, every single Bass Pro Shop tank has fish. If you go pay attention, every single one has fish that just look weird. They look like Chad. They're big around and they're short. That is called no.
Look like him.
Yeah, there you go.
You'll see catfish that look like him.
They look just like that. Lay on your side and flop around. No, seriously. And that's caused from there's only allowed to be so many pounds of this is just a nature thing. There's only can be so many pounds of fish per gallons of water. That's how it works. That's how nature works. And if you upset that, like they do in those Bass Pro Shop tanks, that's what you get.
But also they got to understand that a part of that culling process, trophies got to get culled too. Yep. And I think that's where a lot of them, like, I know we want trophies, but in that culling process for a healthy balance, trophies a certain amount. Now, who makes up that amount? That will be on your local DNR. They're gonna have to go out there and shop fish. They're gonna have to see what their age is versus their size. They decide that, but trophies do have to come out of there.
Yeah.
And I
Absolutely.
agree. And again, I'm sure there's people that keep them around here and are eating them for their, feeding their family with them. No problem with that. The problem that we have around here, and what you're seeing on a lot of especially the people in this area that get so up in arms about it online, is we have, this is like the mecca of Hay Lakeville, right? On Ohio and Kentucky side, there's tons of them. The problem is the commercial guys that are now hitting the Potomac, they're starting to figure out ways to hit the Mississippi River, and they've just destroyed our area. Is they're not taking a few fish, they're taking 3 to 10,000 pounds and doing that in each lake per week, right? That's where people get really bent out of shape, and I can't say I really blame them. And when we have the commercial guys making videos and posting them, that they will rape our rivers with some exploitative words, and like I said, they're pulling up to these mega lakes that they've built, and they've got 5 new lakes built and yada yada, and they're 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 pounds, and they're pulling that many. That's where people lose the sight of the overall picture, and they focus in on just that, of just the trophy fish, right?
Yep. And I agree with all that. I got 3 things to say about the conservation side. The first thing is, if you see something illegal, to help conservation, report it. I don't care if it's your buddy. I've reported my cousin for catching too many. I don't have a problem with turning in a family member that's doing something illegal. So if you see something illegal, report it.
Yeah.
Call it in. That is a conservation.
Note to self: do not.
Well, like Jody said earlier, right? How many people get busted for illegal whitetail hunting and stuff like that? No different.
Right.
It doesn't matter what.
Hey, it's funny.
I got one question.
It's funny. Go ahead, Bill.
Who put Swamp Sticks custom rods in timeout?
Somebody put Swamp Sticks in
It
timeout.
wasn't me, because
that was me.
Because he said a 50-pound catfish makes a good gravy. Now, Brian, you're part of the problem that I've been talking about.
Oh, Brian, you done it now.
I did that.
Brian, what the world, Brian? That's one of the crew. Come on.
I ain't know. I thought it was a troll.
Hey, Bill, that's what you get. That's what you get for correcting him on the blue crabs.
But this is the thing. Even if you didn't know he was part of the crew, that all the man said was 50-pound catfish make a good gravy.
Yeah, but I think a 50-pound catfish.
No, but it don't matter what you think. That it's not right to do that.
Get him, Bill. Get him.
Time to buy.
See, look, I'm already getting backlash from saying that. If you see something illegal, report it. But I believe that wholeheartedly.
Well, I just blocked them for a couple hours.
Oh, geez, bro.
It's not a joke. I said somebody here trolling.
All right, that was number 1. Number 2 on the conservation side. If you
Now, see, if I don't know who Swamp Sticks is.
Oh, geez, there we go.
Oh, see, here we go.
He's D-racking, folks. He's D-racking.
No,
he's trying to backtrack now. He's trying to backtrack.
I said, okay, I'll get him out of here since he won't be a troll.
You would have been better off just going, I don't know.
But number 2, here you
go.
go.
Say it in the chat when you go back and see it. Brian, time, Swamp Sticks out.
Number 2 is if you want something changed.
They trying to be funny.
Oh, let Frank out.
Number 2 is if you do want something changed to help conservation, you've got to talk to your DNR rep. You've got to talk to your congressman. Nothing's going to change if you don't start talking to your respective people that can help make those changes.
Yeah.
But then you got to turn into number 3. You got to do your research. You got to get educated on it. And then you also have to spread the education in order for conservation to work. You can't just have one side of mind without having the knowledge of every part of it.
And you have to understand people aren't going to agree with you. You got to be, people are not going to, Freddie's exactly right. People are not going to agree with you. That's okay.
Yeah. What Josh said.
No, because he ain't spew nothing about how catfish tastes good. Like you're not going to win me over on this. You know what I mean?
Hey, do you keep 50-pounders? Well, I know
100-pounders.
You say they not producing eggs, but you keep 50-pounders in filet and taco.
I keep 100-pounders.
You seen the video, Brian?
Know what I'm trying to say, man?
That video wasn't.
Let me show y'all something. All right, they got guys as recently as
No,
this
show
past
me.
year.
Don't show me.
They got guys as
He's
recently
gonna
as this
time you out,
past
Bill.
year. Hey, look, you time out. We're gonna have some problems. We're gonna go behind CPR.
Bill, Brian's looking for that bend button. Or,
Brian to death.
Your green screen gonna mess your camera up.
Man.
yeah.
I'm gonna send this to Chris. Chris, you know how to make an image pop up, huh?
I can't send it. I'll send it to Chad. I don't.
I'm on my phone, so I'm not
Send it to me. I'll do
doing
it.
nothing.
I'll send it to Freddie.
But-
We'll just do a complete circle.
Yeah,
All right,
let's
just
see.
send it to somebody and send it in the group. I can bring it up
Lord.
because I just
But I do
found out
agree.
my Chad was late.
Speaking from
Surprised
experience,
why
you all
you
do not want what happened in the Ohio to happen to your fisheries. Be proactive now, and it goes back to exactly what Freddie was saying, and but what I'm saying too. We have to have the right conversations with each other and with our representatives, etc.
I'm gonna share it. Here we go.
All right.
You
So
might have to go ahead and
somebody upload it so we can get it on here.
mute your screen, Brian.
Nah, I'm not gonna do it. I already did one. I wanted to show y'all why Chad was late. He was working on conservation.
I'm glad I missed whatever that was.
I ain't
Right,
got
here we
nothing to
go.
do with it, but
All right, boom. Not that.
What the hell?
That's not the one.
Where the hell did this come from?
Wrong image. Wrong image. Well, maybe it was the
No,
right
you can take it down anytime you want, you weirdos.
What you talking about? This one, Chris? Where is it? Come on, if it'll overload.
There
That
you
one right
go.
there.
There we go.
Oh my
Oh,
god!
yeah.
Now let me tell y'all something. This man right here, along with people in my family, have been commercial fishermen down here for generations. This is a every other day thing. You can come down here to this day, and I guarantee you're gonna still catch multiple 100-pound fish. The idea that now I get it. I live in a place where my fishery is better than probably any other place in this country. But a lot of times, it does not necessarily the commercial fisherman that is your enemy. You got to talk with your DNR. The idea that commercial fishermen are regulated, and I'll go with the Ohio River or in Ohio specifically. I don't know how it is, but from my understanding, blue cats ain't necessarily native to up there neither, right? So when they go missing, now I don't believe blue cats is necessarily native to those sections of that river in Ohio. I know they have them. They're not necessarily native to there. I don't know if they classify them as invasive or whatever it is. So when you get to the whole conservation thing, once again, is are you really concerned about your waterways, or are you just concerned about your personal fulfillment or joy of what you can catch? That can be two different arguments. If something is I've seen it here. Nobody for a long time wants to do anything about Asian carp. Asian carp won't be that bad. You know, it's a couple of them. We'll let you put them in ponds, and then, you know, some flooded and got out. And in the beginning, you didn't see much of an issue. There's people to this day now that lose their life behind these fish because they're so bad that they jump and they hit people out their boat and they drown. They die from the impact, whatever. We've all seen the impact of Asian carp.
Folks got cages around them.
And in the beginning, it was the same situation. I mean, how bad can it be? It's just a carp, right? But if something is not supposed to be in your waterway, I can't never get behind protecting it. I've seen firsthand with several. Ask Florida how invasive species does for them down there. The snakeheads, whatever it is everywhere. If it ain't supposed to be in there, it's detrimental to that environment and that ecosystem as a whole. I get it. You happen to like them, but they ain't supposed to be there.
Pull up catfish with us. Comment. I 100% agree with that. You read that, Bill. You just talking about that the other day.
Okay, so yeah, me and Chris had this talking on the phone, and he said he had never looked at it like that neither. From my grandfather, my great grandfather, no one cares about the fishery more than a commercial fisherman because it's usually all they know. So in order for them to have something to feed their family with, and then their kids are most likely brought up in it, they have to make sure that that fishery is around for generations. And it usually is. Now, that don't necessarily mean you're going to have trophy fish to go and take a photo with and show it off on YouTube or Facebook. That might not be what a healthy fishery looks like. But there's going to be fish, and there's going to most likely be enough of them to sustain. And I'd have to go on a limb and say commercial fishing now is less than it was 100 years ago. There's not as many of them left as people think. But they care more about that fishery and that body of water. Now, I ain't talking about the specific guys who y'all talk about, who I've never seen that go and just catch a ton of big fish and then bring them to a pay lake and sell them. I'm not talking commercial fishing in general, which is another reason why a lot of these battles with y'all or tournament people in general get lost because y'all fight the wrong people. Commercial fishermen ain't the bad guys. Most of them are just making a living for their family, and they care about that fishery more than any tournament guy ever will. Because if there's no money in tournaments, them tournament guys is on to something else. We know
I will agree. I will agree with you that not all are created equal, right? And I would say a majority of them are good, and then the ones that we're talking about are actually employed by these pay lakes. If you look up Catfisherman's Paradise over here in Ohio, that dude, he could care less, and they all work for him.
Well, Kevin, he wanted to do a catch and cook, and it's probably not the right time.
It's always the right time.
Ease into that a little bit.
Ain't no ease into it, because understand they might not like it, but if you tell me something, a fight come with that.
Yeah, but there's a time and place, and that might be for a parking lot.
No, that's the perfect place for it, because I feel like ain't no better time to open people's eyes to a situation and get them on the same page than to rip the Band-Aid off. And I think the reason why it has gotten, and it's just my belief, I think the reason it has gotten so one-sided bad, as in the loud Karens of it, is because for so long everybody said this isn't the time or the place, and let's just be quiet about it. And I just think it's time to bring a balance to it. There has to be an opposite voice at these things, and I just think that's how it needs to be.
No, I mean, what you guys are doing is there's nothing wrong with that. You guys aren't hurting your area in any way at all. But like Chad was talking about, the people that are employed for in the deer hunting world, that's poaching. People that are employed to be poachers, that's a problem.
Yeah.
See, there's a difference, commercial fishing, poaching, totally different.
No, and like you just said, all those fish in that boat, like you just said, that's for eateries, right? And being eaten and stuff like that. It's not plug and play somewhere else for people to stand arm in arm and just to torture the fish all day. That's different. Right now, and I think as I'm hearing you talk, it kind of reminds me, honestly, of election season, the left versus right type conversation where everybody's so divided and fighting and arguing, they can't stand to sit down and have a conversation and talk things through.
Yeah, that's what's great about this panel right here. We can have these discussions. Listen, we don't.
I can disagree and not hate people for the most part on most things, right? And I may not agree with everything you say or do on here, or or in life, but again, we're all different and in different areas, and different things impact us differently. You said that so great, Chris, earlier on that, and I hate that the fact that this is the most educational and probably calmest show without making fun of each other that I've ever seen on the Bait Shop, but it's been a good conversation. I've actually enjoyed it. But
that's because you were out of it for the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I didn't get to kick it off with making fun of anybody, so it never went there.
It got started right last week too. So
yeah, for some kind of issue here.
That's the thing, people gotta, and you gotta get a little bit older. I think in a lot of times, I'm 47, getting a little bit older. Things aren't going to bother you. Yeah, I'm looking pretty good for 47. But
Bug man, I seen that. I seen they've been stocking them for 20 years. I don't know if that means they're native, if that's part of what they're stocking. I don't know, but I know that that's what Google AI pops up, and you didn't. I don't think you maybe up above you might have put it where it says they've been stocking them for 20
Well,
years.
they've been stocking them up by West Virginia to get the numbers back up. They've always been a part of the Ohio. So the Ohio River obviously flows into the Mississippi River basins down by southern Illinois and western Kentucky. That's where the Ohio flows into the Mississippi. So we've always had that before they started building dams up here. Now, West Virginia started stocking here several years ago, and they are highly regulated up there now. Those boats up there, the DNR and the West Virginia portion of the Ohio River, they are on it, buddy. They will watch that water and watch them boats very well, and they're starting to really thrive up there again. But it's just not able to be enforced enough through the rest of the Ohio chain down through there. Now they've upped some regulations. They've made some better regulations in recent years, and they're slowly getting there. But again, the DNR doesn't have the enforcement out there as much as they need to, because they don't have enough people to do the job. Right? It's not that they don't maybe want to, but they just can't. And then you have on the Pay Lake side, and they actually, I think it was last year, they busted several Pay Lakes for falsifying what they've taken in, and they caught them red-handed, accepting well over what the regulated limits are for these Pay Lakes, just to keep that money, because it's a gambling ring now, right? It's no longer, and we did a show with Todd a while back about Pay Lakes, like, when I was younger, when I was a young teenager, all the way through my late teens, we had a Pay Lake just down the street from where I lived, just where we just moved from, that we went to. You would have 4 or 5 people around that lake, right? Now, if you go to one of these Pay Lakes, it's arm in arm, and there's, shoulder to shoulder. I mean, and there's people lined up around these lakes, just fishing for these, and they're pulling them in left and right. Right?
There's a pot for it. And that's the whole draw, is there's a pot.
It's changed.
Money pot for it.
Big money.
Paying,
it's big money now.
Paying in, and you're getting, you're getting paid out. That's money ruins everything.
And that's thanks to social media and tournaments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to go back, because they were talking about, it's social. I think Kevin put in there, Pay Lakes have been around a long time. Yeah, but not until all the light got shined on through social media did that stuff really explode, because all the guys that can't come where we are, they want a place to fish, and they made an opportunity, and it's become a little, a little industry, if you want to call it that.
I tell you what, this is what I do, right? Because keep in mind, I know how my argument sounds of what side of the fence I'm on. But my whole thing is I just want people to fish. I don't know how many of y'all ever went and watched my content, looked at my posts. I never show, I ain't going to say never, because there might be 1 or 2 times, whether or not I keep, or now if I'm doing a catch, clean, and cook, obviously, I keep a fish. I don't show whether or not I catch the fish or release the fish. I also, probably 95 to 98% of the time, I never tell what the weight of a fish is in any of my content, because it's irrelevant what the weight of the fish is. I'm showing you fishing. I want to get you out there fishing. I'm not even going to try to sway you to keep it or throw it back. It's your decision. Everybody these days, it's new PB, 100-pound fish. This is what I got. And that's the title. And I get it. It's clickbaity. It'll make people watch them. I don't do it, because that right there, in my opinion, if you go back and look at the rise of Pay Lakes, along with the rise of catfish tournaments and social media, them headlines, they almost go hand in hand. So most of the time, if you want to get mad, you got to get mad at yourself, because you've created the monster that now you have a problem with. Of getting that notoriety for catching a trophy fish. It's fun on social media. You're going to get a bunch of clicks. What better? I might not have a boat. I might not have none of these things. I'm going to that Pay Lake. I could for sure get one and make content with it. Yep. Who made that glamorous?
Yeah.
You know, these tournaments giving out trucks and boats and everything now for it. So hey, why not? Why not get into it? It's gambling, right? Once again, my problem is the hypocrisy. It got to stop. Either side has got to stop. And so if you got a problem with one, you have to have a problem with the other.
Yep, I agree.
We went about a half hour into team snagging line.
We wanted to give you your 30 minutes back, Chad. That's why
appreciate you all giving me my 30 minutes back, and my computer is still restarting. That 3-minute restart's been almost over an hour, well over an hour and let's see, almost 2 hours now. So,
well,
good job, guys.
I want to thank y'all for having me on. I know
You're
I'm the odd bunch out, but hey, I appreciate it.
You're family. You definitely family.
I
You've
think
been
it
on here
went good.
multiple times now. You part of the crew.
I ain't putting him on the payroll.
I don't know about Wes from Swamp Sticks. Brian's gonna need to do some apologizing to him. Tell him
that's
rude.
Messed up. That's messed up, Brian. My first time on here, you ended me, and not tonight. You just blocking people, bro.
I think he's got something against people from Louisiana.
That's what I'm starting to think.
He just doesn't like the way you put that hot sauce on that thing. So,
yeah, I don't know, bro.
Hey,
And right there, look, right there. That's a good comment, Buggy. It is good to have multiple points of view, especially if people can have a simple dialogue and talk things out. That's the big thing. You're not going to always agree at the end of the conversation, but what Bill was just saying, it's not right for me to go into attack mode for his opinion and his beliefs. And the same thing is, I respect that he spoke up, but he didn't attack me or my beliefs on the way I see it from my point of view. That's what we need to do.
Before you become a keyboard warrior,
yeah,
look at it from different perspectives, and lots of times a keyboard warrior just ends up looking like a dumbass. So
I look like a dumbass even without a keyboard. So anyway.
Yeah. Anyway,
smile for the camera.
Smile for the camera. All right, Bill. Thanks for coming on tonight. Good job for.
there's a Freddie. He's gonna have some CPR here in a little bit.
But look, Freddie's raising bait.
Well, it's gonna be a next thumbnail for a video. Here we go.
All right. Apologize to Team Snag and Whiskers, but we had a good show tonight. I really think so.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you all for coming in. Next week, we don't even know what we're going to do yet, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out by next Thursday night. See you guys.
See y'all
later.
Hang in there, Bill.
Yeah.